Okay, hello everyone and welcome. So Karl Hamper versus Philip Meitner, famous players, not really, I've never heard of them other than this game. It's called the Immortal Draw. Played in Vienna in 1872. I think one of them's maybe from Switzerland, the other's Austrian. So their names are probably German, Hamper and Meitner. Okay, yeah, it's pretty insane. The title's a bit of a spoiler alert, but alright. You can guess who's going to win the game. Turn off the lines. Okay, so e4, e5, pretty standard. Now, normally you play knight f3 to attack the pawn, and then there's like the Roy Lopez or the Italian game or whatever. This is the Roy Lopez. I often play the King's Gambit, but they play knight c3, which is a little different. And then black also plays kind of a weird move, which is bishop c5. That's not that important. Now, maybe see what you would play as white. I guess again, it still makes sense to develop, I think. I'm not great with, I don't know, I don't think this is very good yet. You could even just play that. I don't think, whatever. White plays knight a4. So he's attacking the bishop. This is not the most logical move. For example, the bishop could go back, and it's kind of developed anyway, and the knight, there's a saying, knights on the rim are dim. It's not very good. Anyway, but there is kind of a tactic here for black that's probably even better than retreating. So see if you can find it. Okay, so black plays bishop takes f2, a sacrifice straight away, but the follow-up is pretty good. Queen here. Queen here is also worth considering. Black basically has to take it. So check, then the knight can block. It's not as good. So check, and the idea is that, you know, there's a few options, but if you take the block, they can take here, and they're hitting the rook and the knight. The rook and the knight in that order. So, yeah. And if you move the king back, king here, same kind of thing, check, I'm picking up the knight. And so yeah, it's actually quite awkward. It looks like black's already going to get the material back. So white ended up, what else? I think here, check, and then they grab it as well. So white plays the move. Let's try to get the line right. They go there. Okay, so yeah, already it's pretty crazy. The king's coming up the board, but you know, black's given up a piece, and if white can hold on, it shouldn't be too bad. So think what you would play as black. There's ideas of trying to, maybe you want to open this up, get other pieces in the knight. What do you play? So there is this check. So black plays this first, and again, if the king goes back, it's check, and they grab the knight again. So the king moves. Now, yeah, this time they play d5, and they're hitting this pawn. Like for example, they could play check. They can't play checkmate though. The bishop's covering that. But let's just look at, if they do nothing, check, and then I think, then you can just grab the knight, for example. Or go back and look at some of that later. But yeah, there's quite a big threat here, and a lot of the moves don't work. Like, let me see if I remember. Check, I think you can just take with the pawn, and if they block with the queen, it might seem like that's neutralized things, but you can now pin that. And I don't think counter-attacking works. Yeah, you just take the queen. So I don't think there's anything else fancy to consider. Okay, so there's not a lot that can be done. Queen here, maybe that's slightly better. No, that's the same. Check, forking the king and queen. So, and then if the queen takes, it's the bishop again. Okay, so there's not a whole lot to be done, and you're threatening to check and then win the knight. So how do you defend this pawn, or what do you do? So white ended up, again, just moving to the side, because this check is quite likely going to come anyway, and black will have to move. So black takes, and yeah, this is a crazy position. Black is threatening the knight, and it looks dangerous with other pieces could come in. Maybe the bishop here or here, whatever. Maybe just more pawns. So here it's tricky. White could maybe try here, I'm not sure. Again, I'll look at variations later, but white decides to move their king again to protect the knight, I suppose, and to just get away from that check. Sometimes when your opponent can check you, you kind of just, it's best to move away straight away. Okay, so then what did black play here? So black played a bit of a weird move. He plays knight here. It feels like knight here would make more sense. Let's just, so they played that. Here I think makes sense, threatening check, check, and of course the big threat is checkmate. But let's just look at this line. This checkmate is threatened. So there's a lot of, yeah, pretty much anything you go there, checkmate. So, you know, that doesn't help. Most moves don't help against that. This might be an idea. Again, I'll look at this later. I forget. But I think this is maybe okay for black. So white ended up playing a3. I guess protecting that square and then threatening to go back. Well, actually, maybe not threatening to go back yet, but maybe knight here, attacking the queen. Oh, actually, yeah, and this is nearly checkmate, but the bishop can block it. In fact, I think there was a part before where, yeah, somewhere here, if you try to move the pawn to try to escape, there's checkmate. So it's quite tricky to get away. So yeah, at this point, now black plays, I don't know, it's a crazy move. So you can try to see if you can work it out, because there is the danger of white escaping. Anyway, so black plays queen takes, takes the knight, which is insane, with check. If you move back, then black's got his piece back and your 2 pawns down, the center's strong. So you basically have to take the queen. So let's delete that, take. Now it's very tricky. The computer gives this an advantage for white. I may as well show you, like +10. But then, yeah, it's tricky. How do you keep going with the attack? Like if you can keep white's king vulnerable, then it is quite it's dangerous. All these pawns could come up. So black plays check, and this cuts off this square. White only has 3 moves, and he does have to be careful. According to the computer, 1 is a forced loss, like black can win. Anyway, let's keep going with the game. He ends up playing here to try to run back. And then again, see if you can find out what black plays. The knight is hanging, so either it seems like the knight should move, maybe it can move up, maybe the pawn can protect it, or maybe you ignore it and bring a piece in. So he plays a5. Again, it's just crazy. But at least the knight's protecting these squares, so it's hard for the king to run back. I'll look at this later. He just takes the knight. But there is danger. The king, these pawns are covering a lot of squares. As long as this is protected. So black plays knight here, right? And now there's kind of a barrier for the white king. The white king would have to go this way to sort of get away. And none of these pieces on the back rank is developed. And there's a lot of danger, especially checking, and then these squares are weak and the bishop can go there. And all of these squares can get covered by these pawns if that moves up. Okay, so there's a lot of danger. What did white play? I keep forgetting. Wait, so he just played the knight. Oh yeah, I think there's only one move to keep the game alive, in fact, because of those threats. So let's say you do nothing, or a developing move. Check. Now you can't take that. The only square is actually here, I think. And then I think that's already checkmate. Check. I don't think you can escape, right? Yeah. So it's quite dangerous. So white ends up playing. Let me get rid of that. He plays check. This seems to be the only move to keep white alive, right? So there is a lot of danger, even though black's given up the queen. Now, if black blocks with the bishop, I think white can trade. And the king's still kind of stuck, but I'm pretty sure you can check. If they, what do? They can block with the pawn, you can take. You're threatening to take there. The king's not in too much danger. Black's pieces are running out, and it's hard to cover every square, especially like if there's a check. This seems fairly safe, or check, check, you can run away. I'm just making those moves up. So If you block with the pawn, I think I think you can even just give up the bishop as well. But I think best is something like this, or even all the way back. And it seems the king actually ends up safe. It's hard to check this square. You need to, one idea would be to protect this, try to bring the knight here and then check. That would be checkmate, right? But it takes too long. The white queen can come in somewhere, take this pawn, because that'll be pinned. Yeah, so anyway. So black just plays king to the side. So wait, let me make that the main line. How do I, if I click, can I make this the main line? What if I promote that? Yay, that worked. Okay, again, there's only one move for white though here, which is insane. I don't fully understand this. But, again, let's just say you do a normal developing move. What was it? I think check. That's checkmate. Yeah, that's right. You're already trapped. This is protected. That's covered by the knight. These are all protected. So these squares are covered. And yeah, that's checkmate. That's it. So after that, there's a big threat. So the only way to escape turns out to be bishop here, which is really just creating an escape for the king. For example, bishop back, I think check, that's the only square, and then that's checkmate. Yeah. I think, what about this? This is checkmate too, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so, yeah, there's not much. If you retreat, think the same, check, checkmate. Okay, so anyway, bishop here, promote, that's a cool feature. Okay, now if black takes, I think again white ends up safe. See how the white king's quite trapped, but the white king can't really be checked here. This knight's going to take a while. That's the light squared bishop. The rook coming here, you can probably protect, or if it's white's move, he could just block. You know, the rook can't get there, so the king's fairly safe. If the knight takes a while, I think it can get there and checkmate it, but in the meantime, white can escape. So instead, black, what did he do? Oh yeah, he checks. White has to go there, and now he takes with the knight. So this is crazy. This is where the computer finally notices it's actually a draw, which is crazy. So let's first look at escaping. Like if you just try to run away, now the problem is the king could escape, but a very cool tricky move is knight here to cover these squares, and this is now a threat. I don't think anything can stop it. So like, let's say queen here. I guess that's blocked. Oh, I think you can just check. I think you have to block with the queen. See, I've turned off the analysis, but yeah, I'm just trying to do it from memory. And then if, yeah, that's it. We don't really need much else. Okay, so the king takes, and now again a super crazy move because black is running out of moves, and this pawn is hanging. So how do you protect it? You know, and the king can just run away. The queen, as soon as, well, maybe not there, but as soon as white can develop these, you know, there's a way ahead. What is it? A queen and a knight ahead, other than a couple of pawns. So, whoops, promote this. He plays check. Again, this is insane. So you could go here. This is indirectly protected, or you can take the bishop. So if you take the bishop, there's a crazy move. This rook is hanging. It seems like it's all over, and it is all over, but black wins. The rooks are now protected. The king can't escape. There's a check, and the king can just go here. There's no more checks, right? And this is going to be checkmate, and the white king can't move. So I can't believe that. You can't take that bishop, so you have to run away. And at this point, he plays check again. There's if you play check, he can take the pawn. Check, he can just take, and then he'll be fine. This is threatened. Yeah, it's over at that point. But so he plays check, promote, and yeah, so you can either go back and it's a repetition, or if you move back here, again, very clever move. I think it's bishop here, covering these squares, and I think that can come in. I don't think it matters what you do. Checkmate. Ta-da! Okay, so that's pretty much it. They just went back and forth. I don't know how much, but it was agreed to be a draw. Right? So that's one of the craziest draws I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, just insane. So we'll just go back and look. Yeah, so the accuracy is actually really high, apparently, according to chess.com. Don't know if it's perfect, but yeah. So this is not like a random game. Like, most of those moves are the best moves. If you look at the openings, yeah, so this is quite uncommon. Knight f3 is way more common. Knight c3 does get played, but usually knight f6, knight c6, bishop c5 can be played, but now knight a4 is very rare compared to the other moves. So that's a very uncommon move. But yeah, usually it's either black wins or it's a draw. And yeah, this is considered quite sound. So let's just look at the analysis with the lines. Whoops, go back. So yeah, already. Okay, so that's considered a mistake. Bit of an advantage for black. I think this is still considered good, or alright. So taking, and then check. And yeah, now it's interesting if you go here, queen takes, I forget, what do they recommend? Queen e2, if you take, there are some lines where you can actually trap the black queen. Is it knight here, knight f6, there was something where you might be able to trap it. Can I not, what if I play bishop there now? Oh, right. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, that's checkmate. But let's say other than that, if they couldn't play that, which I guess they can play that. Let's say check. Okay, it still seems to think it's an advantage for black. But there was some interesting lines where they can get trapped. Obviously, they could just take here as well. Maybe that's okay. Anyway, so let's look at this line though. There is a part somewhere around here after taking. White has, yeah, d4. d4 kind of blocks things up, and if you take, white can take. There's no bishop, you know, this diagonal can't be attacked. And yeah, this is much better for white. I think you could just sidestep that. Oh, okay, they're taking the bishop. So you gotta, now it's protected. Oh, wow. What is this line? Okay, I guess the queen is trapped. What if they bring it here? I guess you can win the queen. What do they play? Knight c6 hitting your queen. What kind of line is this? Knight, queen takes a2. Oh, they can escape. Okay, well this is crazy. What if you take here? Bishop e6. Oh, okay. This is crazy. Okay, so I haven't looked at all of this, but this line is if you play the right moves. Okay, I don't know. But this move seems to block things up. So he moved across, and then, okay, I just want to look. I think this is better, or as good. So see, it is actually giving an advantage for black still. Oh yeah, so there's some lines. What was it? d4, you can break it up. Okay, yeah, let's not worry. Let's keep going. But here, I don't think this is considered. It seems to think white's doing better. And I think with the right moves, it is better. So check, and then yeah, here's an interesting choice. So here, it considers to be checkmate. So you can play check. King's got to move back. Let's say here, check again. These are covered. Whoops. Wouldn't let me click it. If you go back, check, and yeah, you have to go here, and then I think, oh, that's right, first you go here to cover these squares, and now one of these is checkmate. Right, you can try to block this side so they can go this way. right? Or they can just take it and then checkmate you next move. Um, so it is actually forced, that line. So if you go across, what was it? Oh, they recommend knight e7, but this still works. Check, check, same basic line. Okay, but yeah, knight here. What do you do? Queen g4. Let's try something more reasonable. Let's just try knight, and then okay, yeah, they just surround your king, and I think this will be checkmate, or maybe this. Yeah, they're both checkmate, because everything, all these squares are already covered, you know. So okay, so that's actually a mistake. And then I think maybe king here is best, or they played king here. King here, okay, it's not completely clear. Let's say you try to continue like the game, which was to play, let's say, pawn here. Okay, I guess this ends up the same as the game, so maybe it doesn't matter too much. But I think knight e7, there's something around here where you can escape. See how bishop is the only move, but before that, I think there's some way. Maybe here. No, okay, that's still checkmate. Oh my god. If they take, that's not it. Oh, first protect this, and now this is a big threat. So there's a lot of lines where this pawn, the pawn's there, and the bishop, and these pawns protected. These squares, it's impossible. So I forget what it was though. There is a way to survive, I think. No, okay, so that wasn't it. Let's say king takes. Okay, they have to play that, which is crazy. So if you don't do that, I think I looked at the alternatives. And then again, king here. You have to play bishop here. And then yeah, the check, and then taking. And it's funny, now it suddenly recognizes it's a draw. Before that, it doesn't know that it's a draw. I find that insane. Give it enough time, it should suddenly change its mind. It's still, there you go. See that? So I'm wondering, I'm actually not sure. I think I looked before. I thought there was a line where you play the right move somewhere around here. Maybe it was that. I think this is okay, but if you play a4, a5, it seems to be the same line. It's recommending this. Maybe you play this if they try to follow through. B takes a5. So what if you take here? I guess this is still this kind of same pattern. You can block. Wow, check, and then same thing. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here. The actual end of the game is just insane. Not that line. Yeah, this repetition is just crazy. So, alright, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Bye.